Just say it on paper.
Welcome back to the second hour of At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I am your host, Larry Ellison. In studio, my co-host, my brothers from another to my right, the Rhodes Scholar, Rhodes Pierre is in there. And the doctor is in the house. Dr. Bradley is here. Give me a checkup from the neck up. I might have to check his blood pressure before the end.
It's probably going to be a little high today. It's probably going to be a little high.
Listen, it's okay. I got you, bro. I got you. That's why we, yin and yang, right? I got you. And we got Rhodes in the middle to referee this. We are good. We want to thank our sponsor, the Money Store. For all your mortgagees, your branch manager, Cora Holbrook, or call it area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. Let the Money Store help you with all your mortgages. Like I said, interest rates are declining. I think President Biden doesn't get enough credit for what he's done to turn this economy around. Those people who understand finance, road you that's your background in finances. Dr. Bradley, I tell you, if you own a home, you understand finances, because reality is a lot different when you rent. You pay your rent, pay your bills, and you don't understand all the other things, the moving parts, taxes, insurance, all those things that come with that. I say all that is because, you've said it many times here, and when you shut down an economy the way this economy just abruptly shut down because of COVID, because of the mismanagement of Donald Trump, and people have decided they want more. It's like somebody, might have another, but it's almost like someone that's being abused in an abusive relationship, right? And they always think that the abuser's gonna get that.
My thought exactly. Right. It's like
and sometimes they temporarily got a restraining order for 4 years, and now they didn't renew it, right? So the abuser is going to be back.
He sweet talked them. They're back in the honeymoon period. Oh yeah. Which is what they.
But he loves me.
Yes, exactly.
But he loves me. So
he knows me. Okay, I'm the only one that gets him. That's what it is.
That's where we are. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
Also, remind the MAMLEO members that the general membership meeting will be taking place today at 12 noon at MAMLEO headquarters at 61 Columbia Road. So, like I said, is this the beginning? It says, in the recent Boston.com, City Councilors Flynn and Murphy denounced bias from Boston City Council president. Two Boston City councilors who have butted heads.
You can't make this up, man. I'm sorry.
with the body's progressive majority are voicing their concerns about City Council President Ruthie Lejeune's conduct in meetings. Boston City Councilors Aaron Murphy and Ed Flynn sent a formal communication to City Clerk Alex Garantis dated Monday, which was listed in Wednesday's City Council meeting agenda. The council president frequently engages in commentary following the remarks of certain councilors, particularly myself and Councilor Flynn, which undermines the impartiality expected of the presiding officer, Murphy wrote. Lejeune was sworn into a two-year term as president earlier this year, replacing Flynn in the role. When reached for comment, Lejeune said her focus is to keep this honorable body and our great city moving forward. As council president, I continue to maintain an open-door policy for all my colleagues. Murphy and Flynn, who are moderates, have previously raised concerns in the press about the city council. She told the Boston Herald she sees that chaos and resistance on the council, while Flynn said he feels isolated and bullied as he considers a mayoral run for next year. So, and it goes on. So I say that because, the irony is that you guys remember Dapper?
Dapper O'Neill.
Right, and the city council, and the comments that he would make, and the things he would say, and crickets. Crickets. And I'm not saying it's right to do it here, but this is what I'm saying is that people have short-term memories on how things operate, and this city is we're nowhere near parity. We went and we went and I consider Councilor Flynn a friend. But also, when we went and we talked about that inside the police department, and we asked him to vote with us to not have this upcoming exam, we had enough people of color, and he voted with the mayor. So, sometimes the chickens come home to roost.
Well, when I read that article, know what I said? It hurts when the shoe's on your feet, huh?
Especially when the shoe size is too small.
Yeah, small. Exactly. You know what I mean? When you see exactly welcome to our world. That's what I said when I read the article. Right. Welcome to our world. Yeah. We've been dealing with this with Louise Day Hicks. Remember her?
Right.
Dapper.
Right.
So like now it's on the other side.
What's the other one there was there? He used to have the glasses. His racist from South Boston.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
You know what I'm talking about, right? It'll come to me.
Yeah.
So I'm sure one about he was the city councilor there, and he was as racist as they come. He was out there. Some of the city councils out there during busing with rocks in their hands.
With rocks in their hands, throwing rocks back in the 70s. Absolutely.
Yes.
So now it's on the other foot. So let's see what's happening.
Yeah, you have your left shoe on your right foot. It doesn't fit well. 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685. You're listening at the Roundtable Name. Like I said, it's ironic, right? I kept thinking about Pastor Wright from President Obama's church in Chicago when he made the comment about GD America, right? And people lost their mind and stupid enough to disqualify President Obama from being elected because of something his pastor said, and all of the foul and vitriol that has come out of Donald Trump's mouth. He's now been elected.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the fact that they were crying over Obama wearing a tan suit.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, I wonder what if Trump comes to the microphone in his pajamas, it'll be okay.
He said early on he could shoot someone in the middle.
And Fifth Avenue, wouldn't say anything.
Lose a vote, and clearly he was right. You know, but as you have said it many times, we now have a king. We no longer have a democracy. We now have a monarchy in this country. And he said this probably will be the last election. If you vote this time, you will never have to vote again.
And this is me. I mean, I predicted that he wouldn't get his head handed to him because I thought that the values of America still mattered. Now I'm disappointed to understand that it did not.
Like you said, they valued supremacy, white supremacy over democracy.
But so at this time, I think we're currently living in the twilights of our democracy.
It's gone.
I think it's done. I think as of January the 6th, 26th, 20th, I'm sorry, I keep giving that day wrong. As of January the 20th, during his inauguration, after that, our democracy is going to start falling to the wayside. His policy was Project 2025.
That's right.
That's his policy. You know what I mean? So he never said it. He always tried to distance himself from it. Now it doesn't really matter. You voted, everyone who voted of color for him voted for their own self-interest.
Yes,
in my opinion.
But see, you have to understand, gentlemen, historically, right, we have people, right, even when they were doing things against their own interests, right, during slavery, right, who wanted to side with the master, right, because they thought they would be treated better, right? So history has taught us that this is nothing new. And folks, like I said, the best lesson is the one you teach yourself. Speaking of teaching, I'm going to take this call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the Roundtable. Caller, you there?
But while we get the call, I still want to make sure that I'm clear here. I think, as a man of God, I think we should, if we pray for anything, we should pray that no one hurt this guy, because it's not in the best interest.
I'm not there yet.
I hear you, but I don't think we should.
I'm not saying that they should, but I'm saying I have no prayers for him whatsoever.
No, I pray. I pray that no one hurts him.
I'm not saying they should, but I have no empathy for him at all. At all. When you can, as a black man who has a wife and two daughters, to hear someone calling another woman, and particularly a black woman, some of the things that he said, I have no empathy. I wish no ill will on him. But to pray for anything for him,
I pray that no one hurts him.
You're a better man than me.
I see it going that way. I pray that does not happen, because I think America is better than that. I think there's no way.
You thought that before too?
I still think there's no place for violence on this.
No, I totally agree. I
don't think there's any place for that.
No, but he advocates violence all the time. All right, so he's always saying that, oh no, I'm non-violent, but no, he advocates violence. Punch him in the face. I'll pay for them, and I'll pardon you no matter what you do. So exactly. So he advocates violence himself.
Exactly. And then now when it comes at him, and now he's literally looking over his shoulder, it's a problem. Caller, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
I recognize the voice.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I must say, morning. This election, boy. This took me. It almost took me out. I tell you. I do believe that Donald Trump is the only person who's above the law, and again, this proves it. My thing is, where's people's hearts?
Well, you understand that people's
hearts needs to be checked,
but this man
who is such an awful person. I don't think there's anything good about him.
Right.
To get in, it just hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to the core.
Because you
to
have.
Think
let
about,
me just say this, Carl.
You know,
right. Let me say this.
Kamala Harris, you know, I look at her policies and I say, I already own my home. Okay, so that little money, okay, will go to somebody else. But my little brother's looking for a home, so okay, good. Her, you know, bringing back Roe v. Wade. Okay, I'm 45. I'm not having no more kids. Okay, so that's not for me. And I can go down her list, and I'm like, so it won't necessarily benefit me per se,
right.
but it will benefit America.
Right.
I look at him who really have no policies.
Right.
You know, no good policies.
No, 2025 is his policy.
Right. He has a
yes,
concept.
but to bring more money to people who already have money. I look at Ukraine,
the rich
who is just going to suffer. I look at those, you know, Proud Boys and the January 6th team who are going to be pardoned. I look at Stephen Miller, Bannon, Vance, who are just so evil in their appearance and evil in their thoughts and evil in their hearts. And that team is who's going to run America for the next 4 years.
Probably longer.
But here's
and then you hear him talking about he and the speaker have a secret. What secret do y'all have? What is going to happen to the country? And then you hear Dan Walker coming on this morning gloating. It's like.
Well, let me just say this, caller.
You have a broadcast on Wednesdays. You talk on your broadcast that I don't. I'm sorry. You talk on your broadcast that I don't listen to.
Caller, let me bring you back.
I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, you hear what I have to say, caller?
I did, Doc. Thank you. I did.
Caller, let's calm down. Calm down. We don't want to have.
People are getting emotional.
And I understand your passion. And as you alluded to earlier, the reason why is because you have a heart. These people don't have a heart. But understanding history in this country, in particular for black people, this really is just a modern version because we didn't live it in the past. We didn't know what our ancestors were going through. But they had to deal with people of this magnitude back then, right? And they got through it because, one, as Siddiqui said, we need to come together. And that is the only thing that's going to save us, right? And sadly, in some ways, when we were divided in the way that we were, when we couldn't shop in their stores, we couldn't drink from their fountains,
we
couldn't shop in their stores, right? We only relied on each other. But then we thought this idea, this concept of wanting to be accepted, right? Wanting to be accepted and to be in their neighborhoods and be accepted. I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, not because I want to be accepted by anyone in that neighborhood. I could care less about that. But I also realized that because I was living in the city of Boston, that my kids would not get the education in that system that they deserve. So by force, I had to leave. I was forced to leave that community that I grew up in because I had to deal with the realities of it. Because the community was not coming together to demand better for their situations, right? We see hospitals closed down, we see schools closed down.
And I think in the black community we're fragmented in the fact that, okay, the people that do care about the children's education will go for options like, Medco, okay, we'll go for the testing schools or what have you, or we'll go to private schools.
Or they opt to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Where those places
So that's literally what happens. It's like it becomes scattered and it's like we don't, the people that should get together to unite to demand these changes.
The three of us come in here from outside the city to do this broadcast to try to help support and educate our folks. Yeah. Because we're trying to get back, even though we've made it out of this environment, right? That is not as good as it could be, right? Yeah. So it's not that we forgot where we came from, but no one should be in this situation. And to the caller's point, if you go back and look at history, Donald Trump, sadly, is not the worst that America has brought in leadership. The George Wallaces, right? All of the founders of this country were slave owners, right? So history has not taught us. They always say those who have not learned from history are doomed to repeat it. And we are repeating it right now because we have not learned. We have not got comfortable.
We got too comfortable. That was a problem. Yeah, we got too comfortable. We thought, no, they're not the overt racism. It's not in our face anymore. Because basically, it was pushed away.
So caller, do not despair because that's what people want. My question to you and all the others and folks who are listening is: now that you have seen what America is showing you, who that said people show you who they are. Maya Angelou said, believe them. What are you going to do to work with us? We started a PAC, right? We've been trying to get people to sign up to be part of our political action committee, right?
Yep.
United Communities, right? We'd love to have people like yourself part of that. If you want to give your information to Pastor Hobbs, we can reach out to you and show you how you can be part of it. We have to start. We always live in a moment, not a movement, right?
Yep.
Black Lives Matter. It was a movement, not a movement, right? We don't even hear people talking about it anymore. The other side have been from day one. Donald Trump said, hey, this is our mission, and they didn't take their foot off the gas, right? So I don't blame them for executing their plan. We have to have a plan, but we have to have a better plan. We have to have a plan that we can bring to completion, not just waiting for a few of us to go in there and save it. Stand by. I want to bring this other caller into the conversation. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Peace. Good morning. It's Jamal. How y'all doing?
I'm doing fine, Jamal. I think some others need a little bit more convincing that we're going to be okay. I get their anxiety, I get their frustration, but this is where we are. Good.
Yeah.
Jamal.
I mean, so at least for a guy like me, if I've been talking about how wicked America is for the past 30, 40 of my years, right? Then how could I be surprised when America displays the wickedness? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, unlike a lot of people who are shocked and like, oh, I can't believe that this happened, or no, I knew this was a very real possibility, because I know how many people with this mindset do exist, and I know how people will smile in your face, even some of your coworkers and all this type of thing. But when they get into that booth by themselves, or they get with that document by themselves that they got to mail in, nobody's looking over their shoulder, right? Some people might know in some situations here in Massachusetts, it might not be popular for you to say you're a Trumper. So a lot of people just didn't.
And to that point,
and then they vote anyway.
His vote tabulation went up 4% in Massachusetts, in this blue state. So 4% more people after all knowing all that they know. But also to that point, this is the same country that thought slavery was okay and wanted to continue to enslave people, and part of the Civil War was fought over that. So this is not a country that is
they want the free labor,
but is receptive of black people.
Yeah.
This too is like, to me, why it's so important that we get our concept of unity straight. Because I've always said unity is a false concept. And I give you a great example. There was a time where there was a person in our community who was a very bad actor, but was very popular as an activist, and people were almost insisting that myself and that person needed to come together. And I was like, no, I don't. If I think that something is corrupt or immoral, why would I join with that?
Right.
So I think that there's a segment here where we're just never, like what they say, the twain shall never meet. So even with some of the stuff where we find little pockets of agreement, then there's deviation. So for instance, Siddiqui called in earlier, right? And he said, he called her Kamala, right? And he said, he don't believe she's black. So my question there is, so for a guy like me, right, who is, the proud father of a daughter, and my daughter is half Filipino and half black. I'm the black part, right? Is my daughter black? You see what I'm saying? So it gets very deep to me. And then even before we were talking about the regular American, or I forget what the term was, black American, as opposed to island American or island black, or what have you. So I find this to be very disturbing for most people who don't even know who their great-great-grandmothers are.
But also,
most people have not done their own lineage, and what I think you will find, as is the case with me, so in me, obviously I was born here at the Israel Hospital, 1971, but my great-grandmother came straight from Jamaica. And then when she got here, she married a black Cherokee man. Both grandfathers on both of my side, paternal and maternal, have Cape Verdean in them, right? And then one of my grandfathers, my mother's father, has Cape Verdean and Blackfoot Indian. So I mean, it gets very complicated here. So then, where do I fit in? And this is some of the same divisive rhetoric that's coming up in the reparations argument, determining who. We're really getting down to who's black and who ain't black. And I can tell you this. If Pastor Dan is drawing up the list, we in trouble.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is someone who is calling themselves to be spiritual, right? Who's supposed to be looking out for all, right? Has clearly taken a side, right? Now, I'm not saying that I have any more right to take a side than he does, but I'm not, calling myself a man of God in that way either. Where you should be accepting of folks and saying that certain people, like I said earlier, when they were being able to go over to Africa and fill up the boats above capacity and throw people overboard when they didn't have room or food for them, there was no problem with the numbers of who could come to this country as long as the labor was free. And now there's a cost associated with it. Now all of a sudden the welcome mat is not open. And we all know that it's just a lie. Donald Trump was in office for 4 years. He said he was going to build the wall. Mexico was going to pay for it. Mexico they owe us quite a bit of money. Well, not much, because not very much was built. And nothing's going to change now, right? We know that this is just rhetoric. He's talked about all of these things, right? He was gloating about having overturned Roe v. Wade until he thought it wasn't popular. Now he's saying, hey, I don't pay a price for anything. The courts have said, you know what? He's not going to pay for his crimes that he committed in the federal courts. We'll see what happens with even if he's sentenced by the courts in New York later this month, whether, he's not going to serve any time. He's still a private citizen until January 20th. So if I was a judge, I'd put him in jail until then.
He's above the law. Remember, he's above the law.
Right. Exactly. I mean, like I said, we now have a king in this country. And we've never had that before. We now have a monarchy in this country. So, Dr. Bradley, before we grab this call, you're over there quiet, too quiet for me.
Well, I'm listening to the conversation, and I can appreciate the, the anger that I'm, or disappointment, the frustration. That's what I'm looking for. I can appreciate all that because I have it. You know what I mean? But I think right now I'm in a position where I'm just going to sit and wait and see. Because, like I said to you before, as I sit here and wait and see, America has now touched the stove. The stove is hot, and they're now going to realize it very soon. I give it 6 months, if that long, to realize the error in their ways.
Right.
Because the man doesn't understand basic economic principles.
6-time bankrupt.
He doesn't understand it. I mean, he doesn't even understand how the Fed Reserve works.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he doesn't understand the whole idea. So it's going to take probably less than 6 months before the average individual is paying $10 for a tube of toothpaste.
Right, he'll be blaming that.
Dr. Brandon, it won't take that long. Remember, they have, they try to do so much in the first 100 days.
Yeah,
that's when people are going to see.
Right, right. He'll probably take credit for all the good. The interest rates going down. Well, stand by, call. Bring this other call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table. I think I know who it is.
Yes, good morning. T. Michael Thomas again from the People's Academy.
For People's Republic.
People's Republic.
That's what we are now.
I have to throw the grenade in there on base and everything that I'm listening to. Now, my father was born in the U.S. I was born in Trinidad. Now, I'm going to put up my personal blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifices where the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the city of Boston continues to benefit financially, and I will only put up 4 of them. The Central Artery Tunnel, Big Dick, MBTA train station build out, the Millennium Tower, the Edens development.
Yeah.
I will put up my stack, my personal blood, sweat, and tears on contribution where the Commonwealth continues to make billions against any of the individuals that holds a public office and the individuals who talks about reparations.
Right. So
how I'm treated on simply trying to build a trade school to uplift the folks in my community.
Yeah. So I want to pivot a little bit. I hear what you're saying, and if anyone wants to respond to it, but also because when I talk about the top of the hour, is that I want to get people's feedback on City Councilors Flynn and Murphy denounce bias from Boston City Council president. Now the white councilors in the council are saying that they're being picked on because they're white, because the majority of
welcome to our world
is now black. Jamal,
Go ahead. Let me interject that on that. So first of all, I got a challenge for T. Michael now that I know he got Trini roots. So when you gonna make a copper steel pen?
I knew it's good.
As soon, my brother, as you come to a workshop with me, we can do it together.
Man, I'll come by for a visit. I ain't mad at that.
Hey,
you know what I mean? For sure.
Hey, let me just tell you guys now, you can't steal. You know, all the trash cans now are rubber, plastic. So you don't know where you're going to steal one from. But go ahead.
Yeah, right. That's a good story for the other day. The way that the steel pan came to Trinidad, because they really made something out of nothing, because it was the industrial waste of all the oil barrels and chemical barrels that they turned it around. And hopefully in Black America we can use some of that same ingenuity. But let me say this on Boston City Council. So I think some of this really too is not just Black woman in leadership on City Council president who might not necessarily be going their way, right? Because we've had other Black people on council, and
Andrea Campbell were presidents.
Exactly, Ayanna Presley, so on and so forth. So for this one, I think the specific thing here, particularly at this time, I think that what she's experiencing too is dealing with some anti-Haitian stuff too right now. Because I noticed that these critiques have really heightened just as the general rhetoric against Haitians was going on. So, like, right around, to me, it started right around the time when they did the shelter on Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Yeah.
Right? Ever since that time, it seems like this rhetoric has been coming up. So I can't help but think that the critiques against Boston City Council President Ruth Z. Lugine are also attached to this anti-Haitian sentiment that unfortunately seems to be growing.
All right, let's hear from other calls. Good point, Jamal. Caller. A female caller. Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that.
So there is an article in there where the city councilors Flynn and Murphy are now saying that there are comments they're uncomfortable and that they're saying it's based, in their opinion, somewhat on race, that they're being treated differently by the president of the city council, who happens to be a Haitian American, Ruth Z. Jazzy, and I'm probably pronouncing her name incorrectly if I am, and that they're feeling uncomfortable, and they have written a letter and they've sent a formal complaint to the clerk of the council wanting this to be addressed.
Well, as Jamal just, we know that the fish rot from the head down. Mm-hmm. So if you're hearing all of that coming from the supposedly, next American president, then what do we expect here? Yeah. That's why, all these councilors now believe that, they're going to be under attack and it's going to come more because of who will be in charge now. So, I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you, caller. We appreciate.
It's not right.
No, it's not right. We appreciate your call. Thank you for calling in, and please continue to listen. And like I said, if you want to get Pastor Hobbs your information, we can definitely get you information about the PAC, the Political Action Committee, that we're building.
Absolutely.
We're building on. Pastor Hobbs, if you wouldn't mind grabbing her contact information, and we will reach out to you to get you on board with what we're doing. And hopefully this will be a movement and not a moment as we normally are in, that we will see the sense of urgency in what we're going. T. Michael, your thoughts on that, on the city council issue?
Well, my thoughts on it is that here is a perfect opportunity. I have to promote us having this trade school because it's $1 billion industry, and it's an opportunity for us to train a population and get into the middle class. That's my whole take. That's my whole mission and vision.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Great show, and I will be listening.
All right, thank you.
And you know what? I feel what they're doing, Flynn and Murphy, is just kind of like tainting it. So in case she ever wants to run for mayor, they have like a paper trail to say, oh no, they were people that were discontent with her service. But she was voted there into the office unanimously.
Yeah.
I think there's a surreptitious and a secretive motive behind all this, because we don't lose sight of the fact that the majority of the voters in Boston are white, and don't lose sight of the fact that a large part of our community in Boston, for some reason, refuses to vote. All right, and so if I should lay out my election plans for mayor in the future, I got a track record here that this individual, who may be in line if Wu leaves or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now I may be running against her Now I have a track record to show the community that she's not the person. So I think there's a surreptitious motive here.
Exactly.
We're not even seeing.
It's just a paper trail that they're trying to leave right now.
So the undercurrent is
Yes.
she's not for all this.
Yeah.
All right, good. Stand by. Ditka, welcome to the round two.
And then again, historic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ditka, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You want to say?
Yeah, this thing about the city council president and the two white city councilors being so-called uncomfortable, I see it more as, I hate to say it, but I have to say it anyway, it's more of a fear tactic, because if you're uncomfortable, that means you're scared of something, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So, if they're so uncomfortable with what the city council president is doing to them, then they have some type of fear that they can say, well, I don't want to work with her because it's something, no?
Mm-hmm.
So, as a registered voter, I see it more as, okay, you're making the situation more worse, and then that's going to start like a dysfunction within the other city councilors. So?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that seems to already be apparent there, but I mean, I go back to when having many conversations with City Councilor Yancey, as well as City Councilor Turner and others who were in there when they were in the minority, having to experience some of this. And Jamal, you help me out here. I know you know the City Council. I think of the one that used to be representing South Boston there. And
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly. There we go.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the bridge in South Boston renamed for him.
Right.
And I've also put in a proposition to get the room in City Hall, room 801, which is where they hold all the appeals meetings and all this type of thing. To get that renamed after Albert Dapper O'Neill.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So it's clear to display theirs clearly and proudly. People who have shown the races. I'm surprised they don't have one. Was the Louise Day Hicks room down there as well, because she was very prominent in her denouncing of busing and black people coming in South Boston. I know Dan Walker has come back onto the air. Dan, you wanted to say good morning?
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
We're doing great. Thank you for your
So, I actually have a question for the question I had. Doctor said that if President Trump is suited on the 6th, it's a violation of a particular something. Could you explain that for me, please?
Who he's talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so give me a chance to speak. All right, if Trump, let me put it this way: the court has already said that members of the Supreme Court have said that he's an oath-breaking insurrectionist. The Constitution, insurrection is defined as any act of violence against any function of government. You shall be deemed as an insurrectionist. If the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, Clause 3 of the Constitution says, if you are engaged in an insurrection against any form of government, against the government, you are not to hold an office in government at the federal, state, or local level. So when he's sworn in, he's in violation of the 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court then comes back to say, if you recall, they were talking about taking him, not allowing him on the ballot. The Supreme Court response for that was that you cannot implement, and they were right, you cannot implement the state. You cannot implement clauses that's in the federal government. That's up to Congress. Congress has to implement it. Congress has failed to implement that, as of now. So at this point, when he actually steps in office, he's constitutionally invalid as it relates to the 14th Amendment, Clause 3. Go read it.
There you go.
Okay, never mind the go read it part. But the reality of it is, President, has he been? The go read it is just kind of a slap thing, and that's not necessary between men. Has President Trump been convicted of insurrection?
That's not the point. That's not the point.
But the point is, if he's been convicted of insurrection, then he can't be seated.
It doesn't say that. That's why he said go read it.
That's why I said go read it.
Convicted.
It doesn't.
It says participate.
You participate. It doesn't say it. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to. Hold on, please, hold on.
You asked for clarification. He's giving it to you.
I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That's not what I was intending to do, Dan. I was trying to tell you to go read it because I knew this argument was going to come to with me that he was not convicted. It doesn't say you have to be convicted. It said if you participated in an insurrection, you are not to hold office. He's constitutionally invalid. Period. I'm telling you, brother, he is. If you read it, you'll see that.
Okay, so then the question, then the real question is, was January 6th an insurrection? And if he excuse me, I was asking a question. No. Was January 6th an insurrection, and what direct evidence do we have that President Trump participated in that insurrection?
I'd like to answer that, please. May I have the opportunity of answering that?
Go ahead.
All right. First of all, what is your definition of insurrection?
What is my definition?
Yes.
I don't have one.
Okay, hold on. Let me give you what Webster says. Webster says that an insurrection is a violent uprising against an authority or government. The insurrection was savagely put down. In other words, it's a violent uprising against any form of government. Yeah. All right. Was that and he has let me just say this. All right. He has a good question. Does what you saw on January 6th in 2020, was that a violent uprising? Was it a violent uprising?
I mean, people did get killed and get hurt.
I would say yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, did Trump participate? Was Trump right there in there? No, he wasn't. But he encouraged it.
He instigated it.
So he's a participant in it.
Exactly. As soon as he lost the election, right, he kept putting the fact that the steal was in, that the election was fraudulent because he had lost, and everything
you
that
got
he
to
had
fight.
Right. Yep.
Okay. He said every person told him you lost, and then he went through every means to change the outcome. And since it didn't work the way he had done it, that's why he resorted to having that crowd, that mob, go in there and try to threaten
vice president.
Exactly.
Had his life. So I'm not sure what more you need to articulate that an insurrection took place that day. Mm-hmm. But again, there are folks who are just in denial. Donald Trump said it was a lovely, peaceful
It was a picnic. It was a birthday party. What was it?
It could have turned into a picnic. The old traditional definition of one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he meant. Jamal. You're right. Mm-hmm. Because
let me ask you this, Dan. Pastor Dan. Let me ask you this, and a serious question. So it seems, of course, like all this doesn't bother. Let me just ask you this: is there any particular action that Donald Trump could have done, or a particular statement that he could have said that would make you lose? He would lose your support if he said this.
Nope.
Black women stink, or
nope.
I'm gonna lock all these people up. What would it take for you to break with Donald Trump? Is there anything he could say or do that would lose your support?
The answer is yes.
What is it?
That's between me and him.
Okay.
Just like the secret.
Well, when you guys meet, let us know how that works out.
Just like the between this is what. But see, Jamal, this is why I say when you're arguing with, not even arguing, but when you're having conversations with nonsensical people in this regard, that they are steadfast on what they, and like I said, who you going to believe? Your lying eye.
Yeah.
But this saying Donald Trump wanted to have people shot, had the military turn on people who were doing protests on Black Lives Matter because he didn't like it, right? And that would be justified to shoot down those people. But him starting an insurrection, and then folks saying what now? So now, if those of us who say, well, you know what, Donald Trump is not the president, that would be a problem, right? Because when they were saying that President Biden wasn't duly elected because the people had spoken. But now that they've spoken in favor of Donald Trump, it's a legitimate election.
Exactly. Now it's fine.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both
ways. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Pastor Dan, so do you believe that Donald Trump is either a man of God, a friend of God, or a servant of God?
Okay, that's an easy one. I believe that it is not my responsibility to gauge anybody's relationship with God. Anybody, except my own.
Does he display the characteristics of one that you would expect to be in that position?
No.
Okay, all right, good. That's what I was trying to get to. So even as a godly man as you are, right? I forget what the words you used, but I think it was like fire baptized and all the things. So you're a deeply religious or spiritual man, should I say? But yet, in this case, you can champion a man who you yourself could admit is not a man of God.
Yeah.
Or does not.
And you're wondering how that's possible, because it seems to be a dichotomy. How could I possibly? Okay, well, this is easy. First of all, he's not running for pope. He's not championing a church. He's not pastoring. He is a politician. This world is not my home. I do not serve so that I can be accepted by him. This world is run by Satan.
I'm like,
okay. So why am I surprised? So why am I surprised when all this nonsense is happening?
So let me.
I get it now perfect. It fits exactly with what I think now I'm understanding your ideology to be. So to me, you are an apocalyptic evangelical who understands that in the end there's going to be a great conflict and the world is going to end. And for you, why wait around? Let's skid the wheels.
Right.
Well,
because
you're half right.
Let me just jump
in. You're half right.
Let me just jump in because I know if you call yourself,
say I'm half right.
If you no,
I said you're half right.
Half right.
I'm joking.
Right.
Okay.
Let me say this. I think because I think it's very simplistic here, right? So we can move on, right? Because I want to get back to the city council thing. Is that if Dan he's a pastor, and if his congregation there, to him, would he stand in front of his congregation and preach that they should behave in these ways, and that he would sanction it and give it his blessing and say, you know what, you should go out there because you're not a politician or you want to be a politician, that it's okay for you to behave that way because you're a politician, because we're all supposed to be
absolutely not.
We're all, let me finish, because we're all human beings, right? And then come to you for forgiveness on that behavior, right? For molesting women, for fraud, an insurrection. But that is the moral standard now to be in leadership in one of the most powerful countries in the world. But that's okay, and that's what folks have chosen. Is the popular vote that voted? That's what they want. So,
brother, listen. As a man of God myself, as a man who's doing a sermon tomorrow, I am not supporting anyone anywhere in any aspect of life who doesn't show the characteristic that best represents the man of God that I am.
Exactly.
I'm just not doing it.
Right, so. Dan. Thank you very much. We've got to let you go. I know it sounds like in the background you've got some things you're building. So we hope it's that wall that Trump is paying. All right. Thank you, sir. He's working on the wall. Thank you, Jamal. Again, you just disconnect that.
We don't laugh too hard because soon we all might be working on that wall.
Right, exactly, for free. But I'm saying this is the type of stuff that some folks want to justify it, or because they feel like, they haven't got what they want, that only certain people are going to pay for this. And like I said, I always say the best lesson is the one you teach yourself. And I think there's a hard lesson coming because folks don't understand the history of this country. I told them, this country didn't let me down because it has never built me up. It has never really done it right. Like I said, this is a country that enslaved black people, brought them from other countries and enslaved them. So this is not the worst that this country has done. It's just another example of how bad it can be.
I mean, I'm really taking Sadiq's position on this. I'm not let down. I'm frustrated that people can't. Our people.
Because
I'm
we
not
thought
frustrated.
They were games.
Exactly. I'm not frustrated about the fact that he won this. Don't get me wrong. I'm frustrated that our people are failing to see the danger that's coming at it because of him winning it. That's why you get the octaves that going up in my voice. It's because of that.
But go back to the
Go
back to the quote of our heroine who led so many people to freedom.
I could have freed more slaves if they only knew they were slaves, and that's where the
ignorance is so strong in these
people's minds here, right? But you still have the folks out there who, like I said, want to justify it, right? And then I guess the hypocrisy, in my opinion, is people like Pastor Dan who call themselves men of God, a clergy, that says, "Oh, this would not be okay for one of my followers, one of my worshipers. If I found out that they were behaving in this way, I would want to counsel them to be better."
But
to
you
be better.
that.
But you support, right? You support the behavior of someone who has a larger bully pulpit and a megaphone as a president of the United States.
But again, I think it's important that our people, that's what hurts me, is that our people are dying for a lack of knowledge. Our people are dying because of a lack of understanding their history. Our people are dying because of their desire to be accepted by our people that doesn't want them here.
That is our history.
That is my history. That's my
history.
But again, Malcolm X said, if you entrust the oppressor to be an educator, this is what you get.
Yep.
Okay.
So Jamal, what's your plans? Going forward, I know you've always been involved. I know you've always tried to do what you can do for the community, but I'm not sure there are enough people who really understand the moment that we're in. I mean,
once again, kind of what I talked about before. I've never glammed on to this, what I believe is a false concept of unity. Like everybody was going to come together and kumbaya and sing the Coca-Cola song. That's not how things work. And, every major book of wisdom or, scriptures, tell us that in the end it's going to be a great separation. So what I believe in is trying to find pockets of those that you can unify with, which are similar and like minds. There is going to be no large
smaller, Jamal.
And that's unfortunate. But we see that in the Bible too.
Yeah.
Before God, quote unquote, destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, remember? They tried to strike a bargain and were like, yo, God, if I could just find 50 righteous people, you'll spare the city, right? And then they came down to 5, and then God was like, man, look, deal's off. Y'all got to get out. You know what I mean? So we're dealing with that, and frustratingly for me, as long as I've been in the liberation movement and so on and so forth, I do not see that crisis equals a great coming together. That's another theory that I think is a missed concept, that some great tragedy will then bring us together. We can look at this in our people's own personal lives.
Yes.
You go to the doctor. Your doctor says you're overweight. You need to exercise, or you're gonna get diabetes. What does that person do? Go home and get a 2-piece from Popeyes.
Right. Stop at McDonald's on the way home. Right.
Okay. So this is the thing. All the people that were dealing with cigarettes, dealing with alcoholism, or whatever you're dealing with, where you know what the end result is going to be, but you just can't stop. And see, this is the type of thing where we're doing, I believe, societally, where we are engaging in behaviors that we know are not going to benefit us in the long run. They haven't benefited us thus far, and in fact, in most cases, are very detrimental to us, but yet we still engage in the foolishness.
Well, so Jamal, do you think that is a lack of understanding? Again, like you are very intellectual, Dr. Bradley, Rose, Pastor Haas, myself, I'll put myself in that category, because we have taken the time to understand the history of the world and this country, that we are not naive, but there are a lot of folks who rather have someone tell them how it looks than rather how it is.
Yeah, the more you know, the more difficult it is for somebody to flim flam you, bamboozle you, scam you, right? So I'll say this because like what we were dealing with Pastor Dan, because we know him and it's local. But on the national scene, there's a rapper, Lord Jamar. Y'all might know from the group Brand Nubian.
I don't know.
And he's a trumper too. Broke my heart because I love his music, and I always thought he was smart and intelligent and all that. And turns out he's not got it all together. And not only is he a trumper, he's a flat earther. And he combines them both. So the day after the election, he went on a rant. I told you Trump was going, and I told you the earth is flat. So I mean, you cannot be like, how do you argue with that? One of my favorite rappers, but I got to let that man go that way because he's my age or older, but he's stuck on stupid.
But see,
and you can't fix that.
But that's what I'm saying. But see, Jamal, like, how many people, right? Elon Musk supported this. How many people are going to get rid of X? Even if I had to, send a text message to rather than being able to communicate on X or any of these platforms that supported this stuff. See, that's what people don't understand. They can speak with their dollar. Yeah, it won't break Elon Musk because he has nothing, but it will definitely hurt them being able to get these lies out. Like as Dan was saying, he said he wasn't speaking about politics and whatnot, because he had no argument for the behavior that was taking place. That's the real reason, in my opinion, on why he wasn't speaking that. But the other part where he was saying that he was being censored, no, he wasn't being censored. He wasn't allowed on his airways to tell lies, because we talk about the same issues. But what we don't do is talk about things that we don't know. We don't say that vaccines don't work when we have no evidence that they don't, or that they're killing people, right? If you want to promote that type of stuff, yes, they should shut you down because you are endangering people's lives.
And look, in Pastor Dave's defense, I gotta say this. I don't believe that he was maliciously just spreading lies. What he was doing was repeating the claims of his candidate, which were all lies. You know, so I don't think he intentionally lied himself. Like, he's not the one that told us to go drink bleach. Or, you know what I mean?
Well, he might as well be, because if you put that, it's like, okay, I know that's a lie. If I put that out there, or if I put something out there that I know is untrue, I'm basically saying I'm endorsing the lie.
Yes. If you're just sitting idly and letting the lie grow and multiply, and you don't do anything to stop it, you are actively allowing that lie to.
But I'm saying it's not malicious intent because he's a true believer.
No, he's not. He knows it's not true.
Yeah.
He's
intelligent
enough to know that this is some deep-rooted, in my opinion, some deep-rooted hatred for who he is as a black man, and somehow, either he got beat up on his way home from school or whatever, and now he wants to take it out on all of us. He feels like this is his revenge, as Donald Trump says, I am your retribution. And he feels like Donald Trump in some ways is his retribution. And that's okay. But own it. Own it. Don't try to pretend and dance around it as somehow you haven't felt this way and now all of a sudden you feel empowered to speak your mind. Speak your mind. You have every right to do so.
For now.
Well, let me say this too, because I know before the subject of prayer came up before, and like being able to pray for Trump or not, right? So if I did, these would be the kind of prayers that I could do. All right, I could pray that. No, literally, I'm being serious. I could pray that God jumps in his mind and fixes him. That he somehow has some sort of miraculous turnaround. And it's like, oh my bad, I've been lying and tripping. But we know that that's most likely not going to happen.
Right. I'll just let me interject. Even if it did happen, the powers that be within the Republican Party would shut it down.
But we also know
whatever. But I'm just talking about if he had his own come to Jesus moment, so to speak, right? So that would be one prayer that we could have. But to me, that's just like in our own families. If you got a person that's really strung out on heroin and you just sitting home just praying that it gets fixed, your chances are very slim.
Yeah.
Okay? So I don't know about that one. The other one is that I pray that the people around him could put some reins and control on that crazy train.
Not this time. That's the scarier part, right? Before you did have guardrails, you had people that he inherited, right, who would push back and say no, and he didn't have a full understanding of the government. Now you will not have that, so that won't even be a possibility. You think RFK and some of Steve Bannon and all of them are going to be?
When he appointed those people in his first cabinet, he thought hey, I'm the boss, like Donald Trump, like in the private sector, they're going to do what I'm telling him to do.
And he
didn't realize. He didn't realize exactly.
Right.
And now it's like, no, your oath, this cabinet, your oath is to me.
Holding to me is a transaction.
And the last prayer I could do is that some sort of situation would emerge, whether it's legal or something that's just completely undeniable, that will make it impossible for him to act as president. Will he come out on the Diddy tapes or something like that? I don't know. You know what I mean? But some sort of political thing, or they catch him on the phone, making love to having phone sex with Putin at night. You know what I mean? Something like that.
The Epstein tapes are gone.
Jamal, thank you. We've got to run. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Are you back with me tomorrow, or are we good? Oh, all right. I think we lost it. Okay. Dr. Bradley, you've been quiet over there. I want to give you a minute to.
Well, what I have to say is not going to be, not going to be pleasant. Yeah. I anticipate that Black America is going to be in dire straits within.
Which we already have been.
It's going to be worse. I also feel that our country is living in the twilights of democracy. That we'll be entering first into a kleptocracy and then an autocratic state.
Right, just interject quickly. See, you say democracy, and I think people don't understand is that people who are fear of losing democracy in this country are those who know what it feels like. We have never had it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, you're right. And
very true.
The reason why I'm afraid of, because I have read it and I have studied it. I understand, what happens when you're about to lose it, and we're actually in those final days. That's why I feel we're living in the twilight of it. So,
well, we've got to go. You've been listening at the Roundtable with MAMLEO, as Dr. Bradley always says.
Be blessed.
All right.
Get your affairs in order.
Hustle real hard, hustle. So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. hustle real hard, hustle
I wrote 300 songs in 1 year, Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game, it ain't a challenge. If your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping, why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'? You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst. And the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer. Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard.
Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard, hustle
So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for